Well, guys, the BBC is the gift that keeps on giving, as this presenter's now got a second, third and fourth accusation against him relating to 3 more people that includes threatening behaviour and breaking pandemic lockdown rules to top it all off.
New allegations are made against the BBC presenter, accused of paying a teenager for explicit photos, with claims that abusive and menacing messages were sent to a second person.
The Sun newspaper also publishes new allegations claiming the presenter broke COVID lockdown rules to meet someone from a dating site.
Well, I've got to say, watching the BBC report on their own scumbags is never going to get old. But as you heard there, they now have evidence to say this presenter, whoever they may be, has been contacting others in a similar way while also throwing abuse and threats at people.
Well, just to be clear, this is a different young person to the one the Sun has reported about. This individual in their early 20s was first contacted anonymously by the male presenter on a dating app. And after the two had connected on the app, the conversation moved to private messaging. And the young person has told BBC News that they were surprised to find out who the presenter was when he revealed his identity. And the presenter told the young person not to tell anyone. But the young person has told us that they felt they were put under repeated pressure requests to meet up. They did, in fact, never meet up. Later, the young person alluded online to the fact that they were having contact with a BBC presenter, and they implied that online they might name him at some point, name the presenter. And the presenter reacted by sending a number of what this young person viewed as threatening messages, which we have seen, and they were abusive, expletive-filled messages. Speaking to BBC News, the young person, who has no connection to the person who's been reported about in The Sun, said that they had been scared by the power that they felt the presenter held, and they said the threats in the messages had frightened them and they remained scared.
That there don't look good. Alongside the first allegation, the police are now investigating as a crime. It was reported yesterday.
But what's new in this is the confirmation from the Director General that the Met have asked them to pause their own investigation here at the BBC while that scoping exercise continues. Because clearly, if it does become a criminal investigation, that will have to be, parked and continued on another day. The criminal investigation would take priority precedence here.
That there was followed by reports another person had come forward and directly shown evidence to the BBC, as you heard in that report, before today's lockdown breach claims and creepy Instagram messages surfaced. Now, obviously, the most serious out of all of these is going to be the first claim with the teenager if it turns out he was underage and in breaking lockdown rules to meet young men. This is because he would have sat there on TV telling everyone to follow the rules when he was literally doing a Matt Hancock with youngsters on his licence fee-funded salary.
Take a breath and see where we are with this story for the moment. Look at the key developments here. So, allegations now from a third young person. Claims in The Sun that the presenter broke national lockdown rules to meet after initial contact on a dating app. Remember, at that time, February 2021, people were required to stay at home and could only leave with a reasonable excuse.
Oh yeah, apparently he paid this person 650 quid along with meeting him during lockdown, possibly hours after delivering the government's latest lies about bat flu. In fact, I might have to look back to February 2021 and see if I can find anything of him saying that people should follow the rules and all of this crap. Now, obviously, that revelation there had Sky News Trout strolling over it this morning, but in her desperation to call out these lockdown breaches, she forgot the Trout she's talking to also breached lockdown.
Because you have this hypocrisy element coming into it. The BBC was the institution that delivered all of the rules to the BBC, that set out what we should be doing during lockdown. And to now know that this presenter in question was breaking these COVID rules, well, again, now the BBC looks hypocritical on this, and just how feasible it is to argue that it isn't in the public interest to name this person. Well, I think now really the pressure is on the BBC to perhaps answer our questions and be a bit more open about this.
Okay, let's see. Thanks for now. Thank you.
this hypocrisy element coming into it.
Yeah, guys, the comedy writes itself these days because you can see and hear the awkwardness in Kay Burley there, probably fully knowing tossers like me will be all over that little clip ready to tear her a new arsehole, of course. I should say, though, that the Sky News hack is right there because the BBC are so deep in shit it's actually laughable, but it should also be said that the BBC brought this on itself, did they not? They, after all, for 6 weeks covered up the complaint, which has now snowballed into the Evergrande shit show they find themselves in. I like it! Shit, even BBC tosspots like Jeremy Vine have said this presenter needs to come out himself and take the heat off other BBC acts who've been linked with it. I guess they know the longer this goes on, the deeper the BBC's digging its own grave at the end of the day.
He needs to come forward now, I think. I know his survival instinct has kicked in, and I know he saw what happened to Philip Schofield, but my God, look at the damage to the BBC. Look at the damage to his friends, to those falsely accused, and the longer he leaves it, the worse it will be for him. I think it's better for him if he does. I think he will have to answer this. And what's happening is all this stuff is aggregating with no response. Now, he must have a defense. He must have one. Maybe he's going to say it's all a misunderstanding. Well, assume it. But the idea that he can just remain anonymous forever and then one day walk back into the building with his ID pass, oh no, that's not going to happen.
Oh yeah, they've all turned on him now, whoever he may be, which is why I made this little meme here. I'll leave you with that until his name is released, which I expect will be very soon.
Pandemic.
We're off!